Hey everyone, if you're wondering where episodes 657 and 658 are, they are two hilarious episodes where I did not edit anything when I was recording for David Pakman. And so they are full news podcasts with unedited bloopers. And some of the stuff in there is hilarious and they're for patrons only. How else am I going to get you over there to patreon.com/the BPD show? Let's get on with part 5 and part 6 of this series. Let's go.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
So finally, it's here, part 5. Yeah, so this is going to be part 5 and 6. I didn't get this out to you yesterday, so I'm getting it out first thing this morning. Most of you will have it automatically downloaded before you go out to work, at least if you're on the in Central Time or the West Coast. But that's besides the point. Here's the first part of the conversation with the Noah Chunga. It's kind of like the capstone course. It's the complete summary. In our own way. We don't, we talk about the problems in independent media, the problems in progressive political spaces. And then we talked about some things in general after we caught up because we haven't spoken we haven't had a chance to speak in such a long time. And we both live in Atlanta. So that just should let you know how busy our lives actually are with real work, real jobs. Well, that's mainly true for a Noah job situation. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'm not going to tell you all my business here. So let's check it out. We're going to catch up first, and then we jump headlong into this conversation. A Noah Chunga, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me today, my long lost sister. It feels like I moved to Atlanta and she moved away. I don't know if it's her fault. It's probably my fault that we don't see each other much in the city of Atlanta. But Queen of Progressive Army, Noah Chunga, what's happening?
What's happening? Good evening. How are you? Or good evening. It's the morning.
It's literally it's
my life is right now. How are you?
The sun is shining as bright as it's going to shine today. But good evening to you as well. I'm good, man. I'm just enjoying this Atlanta life. It's a good city. I didn't expect to enjoy it so much. So I'm just kind of doing the dad thing here in Atlanta, but you're gallivanting all over the country now these days.
Right. And I will say that it's probably both. It's like probably both our faults. Because like I should have been over to see you and meet Jada and the kids like a long time ago.
Wait, you haven't met them? For some reason I thought you met them.
No,
shame.
I have not. So that's what I'm saying. It's both our faults because I have not met your family and you've been here for over a year.
Yeah.
Which is bad.
Yeah.
So we have to do better. One of my mentees from undergrad actually lives like almost around the corner from me. And we've been living around the corner for each other for 3 years and we barely see each other because unfortunately that's capitalism, right? That's this crazy rat race life we're all living. And then you got the nerd, we trying to do the work and all the other stuff too. So it's hard. Like but that's something that has to change.
But you know what?
We done called it out in front of
all our audience. But you know what? I can't even put this on you because you just reminded me that I literally live a football, not even a football's throw, like right across the street. One street over from me is a lifelong friend who sang at my wedding. And I've seen her twice in this year that I've been here. Like we see each other.
Life is hard.
It's crazy.
And then we throw in kids too, because this is the other thing, right? Like, yeah, we have the battles and conversations that we have on social media and we do the podcast, which is this work. We've talked about this for over 2 years now. This work it really does have a space. It really is important. We're still fleshing it out and see, how to leverage it to maximize, to be optimum and help really improve and move things forward. But like, there's also a really other valuable and important role we're both playing, and that is raising and rearing families, right?
Yeah.
And taking care of our own health. You and I both had our own issues with health in the past, year and a half as well too. So like, there are all these other things that we're balancing on top of this, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying also to be whole humans enjoying life.
Right. Well, one thing that helped me out a lot, and I don't know if I said this to you in DMs, I feel like I did, or maybe I just tweeted it. I was reading this article about managing stress and anger. And because deep down, like, I am every bit the angry black man that white people fear. I am that. But, you know, I had to manage it for myself. And it said, like, just think about the issue or whatever it is that has you angry. Is it big enough for you to die for? Because you literally can die if you don't control your anger. Ever since I read that one sentence, I've just been meditating the hell out of all my anger, and just, you know, I've been back in music and just writing music for therapy, kind of, not even really for anything other than just to control, you know, it's another form of meditation for me. So that's, you know, but anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. I mean, we could probably catch up.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's good. But we do have a lot to talk about. There's so much happening in the world today. There's been so much happening. I don't even know when's the last time we actually did an episode together.
I have no idea.
For you a little bit, you know, over the last several months, but
that's
I don't know
true.
when the last time we've actually chatted like this. So
that is very true.
Problem why we're doing all this chit chat right now.
I know, and I hope the audience at least appreciates that. But all right, so we'll jump into. We have a lot of topics to talk about.
We do.
We'll probably split this up into 2 episodes because knowing you and I will be speaking for at least an hour here. So let's start with Professor Matt Sinkowitz came down to Atlanta to meet with you.
Oh, I love him.
He's a good guy, right?
He's my new favorite.
He's a really good dude, and I trust his work, and so I was super happy to see that you all are getting connected, and you were getting connected around the question of independent media and access to media. He was in town, so of course we went and hung out because, you know, I know him from Boston, and we did a podcast together, and we started digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and I ended up coming up with a series on how independent media reflects traditional media. These, you know, it's just as white. And Wendy Muse, she reminded me that it's not only just white, but it's also male dominated. So, you know, how is independent media any different from mainstream media when it mirrors mainstream media and protects itself like mainstream media? It's kind of like Professor Sinkowitz said, it's kind of like people who buy indie rock, independent rock, and when in actuality, it's just as mainstream as anything else. But I guess you feel good because you're telling yourself you're buying an independent artist. So it really stemmed from your conversation with Professor Sinkowitz, the entire series. So I thought it would be fitting to conclude the series with you with regard to your experiences, particularly with NPR and how they used and weaponized your access to a platform, and they weaponized it against you. There's so many angles to talk about from here, but I know you know how to take it. So let it rip.
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate that. And, you know, definitely was a great conversation. He and I sat down, and I felt bad because the first place that I suggested for us to meet, I'm like, again, I'm zooming. I'm not even paying attention to days. I didn't even realize it was closed on a Monday. So he was definitely in good spirits. We had a great, you know, several sets of conversations, and are definitely going to follow up some more. But you know, let's just go back to me, because remember when I first started with you at Progressive Army and really, you know, coming on the Benjamin Dixon show during the primary, you were trying to expand your team with women, right? To do on-air commentary. And that was one of our first conversations that we had too. And then we did we had that ladies takeover night of your show too.
Yeah.
So there has been this, but we've seen it, right? When we look at you either have, when you look at platform and access, right? It's the same thing we see in our politics and across many segments. When you look at who gets access to platforms, and not saying that you or others, you know, who are of color haven't had to really, really work hard, but identify as male, haven't had to work hard. There is this other barrier in access. If you're a Black woman in this space, unless you're speaking the palatable, you know, progressive mumbo jumbo consistently, because just even think about some of the things when we used to go in, right? There would be things that I would do or say, but if you did or said it, people would not react as negatively. Not that you haven't gotten your first.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually, when in the early days of Progressive Army, we had to boot someone who was really annoyed with me for whatever reason. Yeah. You guys had to boot someone because for whatever reason they literally spent time attacking me and coming for me, and I would literally say the same things as you would say.
Right.
This was such a bad reaction with that individual, and so there is an issue with Black women and the way we speak and engage, and we have to build our own spaces. I mean, as Black progressives, we've talked about this for a long time. We have to build our own spaces, and we see people who are able to rise and have access to platforms, whether it's the mainstream, and we do see, as we see progressive voices angling to have mainstream access and platform.
Yeah.
Like, we do see that same thing that we complain about that comes from mainstream media to begin with.
Right.
And reductionist, limited, analysis that goes into particular issues because it's good for clicks and share.
Yeah, that's the exact model, right? That's the exact thing that we complain about in terms of the mainstream media. You know, if you take CNN, for example, they're going to put on a show. They're going to bring on somebody from the Democratic Party, somebody from the Republican Party. They're just going to argue it out, and they don't go any deeper whatsoever. Somebody has to explain to me, because I don't see the difference between that type of show and the type of show independent media personalities are doing on YouTube when they're doing the same type of routine. They have their shtick, they have their routine, and they don't explore the stories any deeper, and they don't dare challenge the consensus amongst their audience. And I think that's the key thing. They serve their audience so that they can keep getting clicks from their audience. But what is usually sacrificed in those things, we find over and over and over again, important stories are sacrificed, and particularly stories that are relevant to people of color, Black people specifically, Black women. These are one of the first things that are abandoned, because in the YouTube space, that's a very hard demographic to talk about. You know, you just like you said, if you said the same thing that I said, you got all kinds of hell simply because you're a woman, because there literally was no difference between how we said it and what we were saying. I mean, you and I are almost, two peas in a pod in terms of our politics, in terms of our delivery, but they lost it when you did it. And anytime I do a story about race, then, obviously clicks go down, that kind of thing. So to me, it seemed like it's really no different. They're just serving a different audience using the same MO as mainstream media.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And like when we're thinking about other stuff, because people are like, oh, people just need to talk it out. We're all on the same side. Here's the thing. We're not all fighting the same fight. And we've been saying this for years now, right? We've been explaining this for a long time. We are not all in this space fighting the same fight. And I think about the conversations you and I have had about how to build this, how to do this work, how to figure out how to scale up, right? And not just because we're trying to get fat off of the donations and Patreon submissions of our fellow progressives, but because there's like legit real work out here that needs to be done.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, it's very difficult, to do that when you're working and making other, financial choices in terms of your labor, because it takes a lot of labor to construct and build and work and do this in a way that isn't just railing at social media without any context and connection. One of the things that we talked about, which is we haven't done the best job, figuring out how to make it work, but hopefully we'll continue to build, since you are now local, is how do we connect what we're doing to the work of people actually on the ground, right?
Right.
Like, that's one thing that I think that in some of our, like during the primary, I think we made those connections, and other people have spun off now to do other things and are doing that really well. But a lot of that started with all of us at Progressive Army. We had a good ability to kind of try and connect and amplify the work of others on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. And really has always been the major motivator. And like, it's hard to sustain that when you have to also sustain your individual self, your individual family. Like, I can't be sitting here trying to do this and my kids are like, well, Mom, I'm hungry, or Mom, I need shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing, you have 3, right?
Yeah.
So, like just thinking about like this space. So thinking about, it is a very male dominated space. It is a very, white dominated space. And that lens, and we're not all in this together. We're not all fighting the same fight. That lens, that same issue with institutionalized white supremacy, which, myself and Wendy and others faced last summer, really last summer was like the summer of fighting white supremacy and aggression for me in progressive spaces. Beginning with the whole aftermath and the big showdown with Debbie, what's her face, the same progressive, and Claudia, whatever her name is, from Cabin Talk, and Armin Coney, who decided the Green Party was too evil for him, i.e. they wouldn't put up with white, misogynistic, racist BS from him. And it led to this whole series of attacks. And, there are other so-called progressive operatives claiming I'm just trying to build a platform and all this stuff. Like, if you notice the access I have to people in spaces, I have rarely ever tried to leverage to build my own platform.
Right.
My whole shtick has been truth, honesty, and just putting it out there. We don't have to agree, right? We don't, that's fine. But like the massive disrespect that I've experienced as a commentator, trying to like actually drive these conversations and break out, not being palatable enough for, larger indie media spaces, have to be named. But like, we want someone who has your perspective and your lens, but you don't have the right perspective. You don't have the right experience because you haven't had the same opportunities as these white journal bros have had. So we're going to pass on you, even though we're listing job descriptions that say we want somebody just like you. Like, even though I love your analysis and our organization really needs what you're bringing, we're not even going to give you the respect of a phone call to say, no, we're not going to work with you. Right. We're just going to ghost on you. But we're like super uber progressive and we're about the movement. Like, this is the type of experience and stuff. And so we have literally had to build our own spaces and breakthroughs and really struggle. And folks who have large platforms and access, a lot of them are trying to share space, which is why it was really telling when the issue happened with the NPR affiliate here. It was really telling like who stepped out and reached out to lend their platforms access and support, and who just literally used it to boost their own commentary and use it for whatever their own narratives were. Yeah. Like, shout out to Abby Martin and her brother Robbie, who like had me on. And I've been a big fan of Abby for a long time. I've gotten to know Robbie, on social media as well. And like, Abby made space to talk about this issue. Same thing with Adam Johnson, who writes for Fair. Adam was literally Adam was like literally one of the very first people to connect to see. He's like, Anoa, what is this? Do you mind if I write a piece? Because I want because there's a genius. There are some people out there who have platform and access and understand the space and the conversation and what needs to be done. And there are other people who have platform and access and are really only about maintaining that platform and access for themselves and the select few and that elite upper echelon that they all inhabit. And that's the same thing that we see with mainstream media. Yeah. Like, see people like when I would see different people, and we don't need to get into like, folks who just grift off the movement for dollars who were talking about it. I'm like, but you have me blocked. Like, you have me blocked because you claimed I was violent on some BS because you can't defend your own point. Claiming like this is you're taking a principled stance and supporting me, but you got me blocked and can't have a conversation with me. Like, this is the type of violence that we have from a predominantly white-led progressive space that will marginalize and minimize and actually project really bad narratives, really bad conversations, and ultimately, excuse my language, but bastardizes movement organizing, perspectives and work through a lens that knows nothing about nothing when it gets out to being out in these streets and building with the people. Like, y'all can wave your DSA cards all you want to. I mean, I've been a DSA member for almost a year and just got mine in the mail not long ago. Quite honestly, I have these moments where I don't even know if I'm going to renew my membership because DSA, and much love to Maria and everybody else nationally. And I love folks in my chapter locally, but there's a lot of damn work to do. And at times it's a hostile place to be Black. Yeah. Like, and this is not me being, oh my God, this is like, if you actually take the time to be quiet and listen to not just your fave, placating folks of color who love to make sure their white people are nice and happy, but actually talk to folks who are out here doing the organizing and work. You will understand the stress of what it is for us to be in predominantly white spaces. Fine, we're comrades and you love me and I love you, but it's stressful dealing with y'all. Like, it really is. I love you and I want to be out here in these streets, but the fact that you can't even understand the way that we have internalized white supremacy and misogyny in our organizing spaces. Many of us have been talking about this for a long time now. When you want to know why some of the baddest Black organizers and brown organizers won't come to your meetings, won't get behind Bernie, won't listen to your podcast, don't give a damn about how much you like Chapel Trap House and think they're smart. Like, there's a lot going on out here. So we can't just demand that the Democratic Party and all these other institutions around us deconstruct, dismantle white supremacy when we don't look at it in our own space. And people of color, attachés and handmaidens of white supremacy, they are as well. Like, so that is a lot that we need to discuss. And this is not attacking anyone. This is not about understanding anybody's blackness. This is about being real, that there are perspectives that are being represented as if they are reflective of our actual experience. You can't spend a primary season talking about how people are not a monolith, then lift up only particular voices as if we're a monolith.
Right. You've hit on so much there. But the thing that jumps out the most to me is this idea that we are all fighting, that we're all comrades, that we're all fighting the same fight, and the expectation that they have that we are all fighting the same fight. So we should just be okay with what they are doing. In reality, we aren't fighting the same fight, like you stated, because there are elements that they leave out intentionally, particularly in the independent media space. They leave it out because, one, they just don't want to have their own toes stepped on. They don't want to talk about white supremacy, not for real. They will gladly, and this is something that I learned the hard way coming to Atlanta. I knew it personally, but you kind of find it out when you work with white people in these white spaces. You discover that they are A-okay talking about the problem of systemic injustice and systemic racism and white supremacy when it comes from someone else. Liberals will talk about it when it's coming from conservatives. Progressives will jump all over it when it's coming from liberals. But if you talk about the problems in progressive spaces, they shut down and react just like white conservatives, just like white liberals. You're going to get the same thing from white progressives.
No, absolutely. And it's like, and this is not a hateful thing. This is not an attack thing. Like, this is the thing. Like I appreciate the spaces that I've gotten a chance to be in over the past 2 years post-primary, right? Like, starting out, really starting to wet my feet and really being able to get out here. Like, my parents have the connections and the experience and exposure that they have had, but really starting to do more and get to know more people and be out here really even looking at having to deal with so-called progressive journalists after the Netroots action last year, right? Where it was like really disheartening to not only have mainstream media, but to have, so-called journalists of one of like the leading progressive outlets, mischaracterizing not only my work, but the work of other Black organizers and folks organizing here locally was a problem, and feeding into, BS narratives about identity politics. Part of why this is all screwed up, part of why these people go so hard about identity politics is if the mediocrity that is accepted from white progressive voices and POC, male progressive voices, the mediocrity that is accepted of them because the mainstream media is just so bad. I mean, like, we really have mediocre thinkers out there, like, doing certain things who otherwise would not have space if the rest of us were given the same opportunity and access that they have. I don't have it to just be something like my mommy and daddy don't have money to take care of me and my kids so that I can just be a freelance writer with half-ass takes and not understanding the real, what's going on in the ground in like Florida, for example, and the complexity and nuance in a conversation about why a Black elected official or why a Black candidate would even dare bother with Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or any of them. Again, not defending it, not saying it's right. It's definitely a complex issue, but this is the type of analysis we need to be demanding from progressive journalists. Not that you're so busy raging against the machine and you get your panties wet because you get a hard on from attacking Hillary Clinton all the time, or AWS going super hard in the paint. Like, you're going so hard in the paint that you're not even on the right court anymore.
Right.
Like, this is a problem.
So, I mean, and about that. So that actually brings us up to date in terms of the same issue, the same issue that we face all along the way. There is a major story to be told about the influence of AIPAC in the Black community, the specific targeting of the Black community early on, providing support for people who, if they got support from progressive circles, they would go with the progressive circles. Like, I've interviewed and spoken with a couple of people about this, and most of this that I'm saying now was off the record, which is why it never got published. But they were like, they would have preferred to get the kind of support that they wanted from progressive circles, but they got it from somewhere else because it was not to be found anywhere in progressive circles. Now, but that brings us up to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Andrew Gillum, which is like, right now, contemporary, what's happening right now. And the question that I have to ask everyone who is so upset about this is, how is he going to win by shunning how many people in her district, 270,000 people in her district that support her, whether they like her.
It's not even so much just her district though, right? Like, this is a very particular issue. And I went back and I think I probably forgot to tweet it out, but I went back to the article from back when, remember, I don't know if listeners remember this, remember back during the primary, DNC, week, Ben was supposed to host from the DNC convention a debate between Rania Khalek and
Bakari Sellers.
Yep. Bakari was all gung-ho. It was going to get set up. We was about to be, and Bakari backed out.
Right.
He flicked. And but that came up with when they had this group of Black leaders, lawmakers, and other folks, sign on to this letter challenging the inclusion of language, if I remember correctly, that was favorable to Palestinians. It wasn't even pro BDS language, right? Like, and Matt and I had a really good conversation about being not pro BDS and being not pro anti BDS and what the world looks like.
Right.
And I'm like, that's definitely a good conversation we should have some other time. But the history, it was through that research when you dug in on that article, and it got like a ridiculous amount of shares when I went back and looked at it. And when you dug in on that article and looked at the way in which AIPAC starts at college campuses investing in leaders, right? Mm-hmm. And we look at these Black leaders who want to do well politically, and we look at Black leaders who get tanked politically, right? We saw this happen in 2016 to Donna Edwards, regardless of what people felt about Donna Edwards and how she should have supported Bernie, whatever, right? Bernie didn't support her either. Like, I'm not going to get into all that. I've met Donna Edwards. I don't necessarily agree with her on everything, but I like her a lot as a person. And she was very warm to me, even though I had been criticizing her all day on Twitter last year when I met her. So like we saw this happen. We saw this just happen recently in Florida.
You mean Donna Brazile though?
To Dwight Bullard. We just saw this happen in 2016. Dwight Bullard was in the state legislature in Florida. We just saw, because I believe it was the Dream Defenders. I can't remember which specific group, so I could have the specific group wrong, but he went with a group of young Black activists and he went and toured Palestine, and they were upset about it, and they literally tanked him, and they lost a Democratic seat intentionally over this issue, right? And Dwight is an amazing, leader, amazing person to have doing work on the ground in Florida and representing the people in Florida. So we've seen this happen. And we also saw this in terms of his chair run for the Florida Democratic Party.
Right.
So,
and
then, current allegations with Keith Ellison aside, right? We saw Dershowitz foaming at the mouth during the weekend of the vote. And it happened, Amy Siskin and other folks trying to make Keith out to be anti-Semitic to get this, get voters stirred up and angry so that Keith would not become the Dem chair. I'm not saying that's why he wasn't the Dem chair, but we have seen this happen in recent years. So the fact
they did it to Barack Obama. I mean,
they did it to Barack Obama.
It is a strategy. She was the person who did it.
Obama, right?
She's the one who accused him of anti-Semitism because he attempted to replace her as the DNC chair. And before you continue, you said Donna Edwards, but I'm sure you meant Donna Brazile.
No, I said Donna Edwards. In 2016, Donna Edwards, when she was running for Senate against Chris Mulholland or whatever his name is. I'm again, guys, I'm trying to do this on top of my head, so forgive me if I don't have everyone's exact names and titles right here. But no, when Donna Edwards was running in 2016 in her primary in Maryland, Haim Sabam dropped, I think it was $100,000 against her because she had a very pro-Palestinian stance as far as Democratic leadership is going to go.
Okay. I mean, well, let me ask you this because now I'm confused.
But why just say this too? We've seen J Street recently pull support of Rashida Tlaib, who is amazing up in Michigan as well, because she's Palestinian American woman. She's not pro two-state solution. And if I understood the article I read correctly. So we see the way this is played. We see the way this is leveraged against, people across the board. So when you have in Florida to understand from talking to people. And I talk to people on the ground who are talking about how they are trying it. They are trying it, whether it's going to be successful or not. But the campaign and the coordinated side have reacted in the way they did to try and kind of shield or inculcate Andrew and his running mate from these allegations.
Right.
Now, whether or not this is a good thing or not, I agree with everyone. I think it's disgusting that he's doing events with Hillary and then Washington Schultz. But at the same, and I understand when people are like, oh, but she lost the state. There are certain populations that unfortunately we're seeing 2008 Puma syndrome all over again, because people are upset because their great white hope, Gwen Graham, did not win.
Right.
Like he stole it. Like people are acting like he stole the election from her. So what do we do and how do we build? What are we organizing for to build around candidates so they don't have to do this stuff? How are we as a movement making
We're not. With the progressive space is not.
If you think Bernie's going to run in 2020 and you think he's not going to have to put up with some of this stuff, you're wrong. It's going to happen if he wants that. No matter how much you think of what you're doing on Twitter and how many views you have on videos and stuff, that's not actual bodies on the ground. That's not actually people moving those bodies.
Right.
You have a plan for this stuff.
All right. That's part 5. Part 6, I probably will publish tomorrow, Saturday. So, hey, that's it. Have a great weekend if I don't see you until Monday. And if I see you tomorrow, well, I see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.